We welcome you into another episode of Inside Boxing Live. 10 out of 10 Taylor Swift fans recommend and listen to this very podcast. That's because I'm joined every single week by former 140-pound champion Chris Algieri. I, of course, am Dan Canobio. Chris, it's Super Bowl week. It's always Super Bowl week in the boxing world, but it's Super Bowl week in the sports world. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I like most years, I forget when Super Bowl is because I don't really care.
Mm.
And this year more than ever, I don't care. So let's
It's the
uh let's
Chiefs
let's talk let's talk boxing.
versus, yes, it's the Chiefs versus the 49ers. It's this Sunday. This is a boxing podcast, but this episode is brought to you by DraftKings. And if you're looking for a super offer for Super Bowl 58, DraftKings Sportsbook has you covered. New customers can bet the big game and turn $5 into 200 instantly with bonus bets. That's DraftKings Sportsbook app. And go ahead and download it right now. Use code IBL. New customers can bet $5 and get 200 instantly in bonus bets only at the DraftKings Sportsbook. That's the official sports betting partner of Super Bowl 58 with code IBL. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER, or in West Virginia, visit www.1800gambler.net. If you're in New York, you can call 877-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. In Connecticut, help is available for a gambling problem. Call 888-789-777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas. 21 plus, age varies by jurisdiction. You're going to go ahead and avoid that in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. See dkng.com/football for eligibility, deposits, restrictions, terms, and responsible gaming resources.
Hey Dan, you're getting better at that, bud.
Yeah, I'm so good at reading. I thought you were just drinking red sauce right there.
No. I got a little liquid IV action going on here.
Okay. All right. Algieri had himself a weekend.
Yeah, yes, I did. And I worked out this morning, so I'm just trying to catch up.
Okay. All right. You know who had themselves a weekend? Where do we want to start? There's a lot going on in the boxing world. There's a lot going on in the sport that we love. We can talk about Conor Benn, who stepped into the ring. We could talk about Buatsi and Dan Azeez. We can talk about Beterbiev and Bivol fighting on June 1st. But the biggest story, in my opinion, Chris, Tyson Fury, Alexander Usyk. On Friday, it was off because of the cut suffered over the eye of Tyson Fury in sparring from what looked like is an elbow. So on Friday into Saturday morning, it is chaos on the timeline. Boxing fans are saying, see, I told you so. See, this fight's never going to happen. Are they ever going to step in the ring? June, July, August? Is Hrgovic going to step in and fight Usyk? Is Fury going to retire? Until Saturday afternoon when our boy Ariel Helwani, of all people, on the MMA Hour, got all the parties in there. Got Usyk in there, and his manager. Got our guy Turkey, His Excellency, in there with Tyson Fury. And His Excellency was spitting. He was on a roll. He goes, May 18th, fight's happening. Fury-Usyk. I'm going to add an even bigger fight to the undercard, which already has Maris Briedis trying to get his title back from Jai Opatai. He says on June 1st, Beterbiev's fighting Bivol. And then he says, on top of it, Fury and Usyk. If one guy pulls out, he has to pay the other $10 million. It was quite the interview. So he went from this fight being off, this fight maybe not happening, to now May 18th, Fury and Usyk. That's the timeline. Chris, how do you feel about it?
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense that we start with the bad news first because it is the biggest news around. And like it hit us with a flurry the other day, and we were both like, Friday was a sad day. Not only did that fight get announced off, Carl Weathers passed away, the great Apollo Creed. Yep,
R.I.P.
So yeah, that Friday was bad news on top of bad news, insult to injury. But there's a little bit of shining light because of His Excellency really putting these guys to brass tacks, man. I like it. I like that he's pushing back. Like, listen, man, he's like, I'm gonna put on these shows, I'm gonna pay you a ton of money. You can't be doing this shit. Like, you can't just pull out of fights, which Tyson Fury has done before. Listen, cuts are cuts. Cuts happen. It's not crazy that it's happened. It just sucks because it was so close and it's such a big fight. So, you know, you can't really knock that if it is a real cut.
Come on, Chris.
There are some speculations.
Don't be that guy.
I'm gonna do it.
You're gonna put the tin hat on. You're gonna put the tinfoil hat on.
Yeah, baby.
It's a cut. I saw it.
Hat. But did you? Have you seen it?
He was on camera in that interview, and it was all cut. It was stitched up. I mean, they saw the cut that he posted on social media. That was nasty.
Yeah. Yeah, it was nasty.
Nasty.
It was
Let's just
deep
assume
and
it
open.
was. Let's just assume it was a cut.
Yeah, I mean, I'm tinfoil hatting, but yeah,
Whatever. I mean, it's you're not the
fights.
only person. I mean, this
I
is
know
boxing,
that's why I mentioned it because I was reading quite a bit of people that were like,
right?
"No, this fight was never going to happen anyway.
Guys.
This is happening for a reason." Um, but listen, I always lean towards the fighters themselves. And listen, you get cut, you get cut. It happens. Paulie Malignaggi, our buddy, he had something similar happen to him. He was actually going to fight on the undercard when I fought Amir Khan in Brooklyn. It would have been the only fight card that we had fought on the same card together, and he got cut badly from a southpaw elbow. So
And when did that come? At what point of the training camp?
oh, it was within it was a couple weeks. Similar time frame. It
Yeah.
happens. So that's when the most intense sparring is. So does this happen? Yes. Is it also a sparring partner where you got a righty and an orthodox? I'm sorry, a southpaw and an orthodox competing? Yeah, and elbows, headbutts, those things happen. Headbutts aren't as common because you've got headgear on, and most headgear have a pretty protruding padding here. But elbows, man, those are not covered. And when you have a southpaw orthodox position, a lot of times guys are there. You're coming in, throwing that jab, and that those long bones of the forearm can be sharp. And when you got a tough sparring session, and I'm sure what Tyson Fury's game plan is to be rough and be on the inside and moving his guys around, it's very, very tricky that there could essentially be, cut. And he got cut. So.
Yeah, good point. Good points there. Just to go back 1 second for the conspiracy theories out there, like those exist. Like this is boxing.
Oh, yeah.
We've been disappointed so many times. We've heard of events being canceled because of bad ticket sales, or events being canceled because a fighter is just not ready for it, or mentally, physically. We've seen that with Fury. So I understand some of the Fury criticism that I've seen on the timeline and seen thrown my way when the cut was announced and the fight was off. I understand that. I understand, like, this is a guy that, has lied in the past, who has left the sport, who has been accused of everything. I understand that. But for once, I feel like, yeah, this dude legitimately got cut in the eye. But that's the case when you had so many past transgressions that these fans are just not going to give you the benefit of the doubt anymore. They're pretty tired with his whole act. But we're getting it May 18th. And I want to talk about sparring and what goes on with sparring close to a fight. When I got this news, I was in Orlando for a DAZN card, and I was calling it with Nonito Donaire. And I was like, hey, Nonito, like, how close to the fight did you spar? And he said, close, 2 weeks. You want to peak. You want to peak at the right time. You want to peak 2 weeks. And you could attest to this way better than I could. You want to peak 2 weeks. Some guys want to peak a week before. So how common is it for a fighter? In Fury's case, this was 13 days or 15 days before the fight. Maybe he would have stopped. That would have been his last training session, because you do want to peak heading in to the fight.
Yeah, and aside from peaking, it's about timing, right? So you don't want to get stale when you're not sparring. You don't have punches coming at you. You don't have to be competitive, and that's what sparring is. Sparring is competitive. I would usually stop sparring earlier in my career, 1 week, so I would spar pretty close, and then later on for my bigger fights, 10 days. So yeah, I didn't like going 2 weeks without sparring leading into a big fight, regardless of who the fight was. But yeah, 10 days was usually where I was cutting it toward the end of my career, just because of these reasons. You're also banged up during camp anyway. As you get to those last few weeks, I always looked at sparring is everything. So I'm building up conditioning to get to the point where we start our sparring. The bulk of camp is going to be surrounded around that sparring. And then once that's over, camp is pretty much closed. Then it's just making weight and just getting to the fight and make sure you can recover. But listen, some guys are all different, and the way they go about their sparring partners, in terms of having really hard sparring or just working through certain things and more like touch sparring. There's a lot of different ways to do it. I came up from New York and we spar hard. And you want to be able to deal with your reflexes. I was also a reflex fighter. So Paulie Malignaggi, I bring him up again. He was a guy, he's like, I need hard sparring. I need hard sparring. And the guy I trained in California as well with Robert Garcia in Oxnard, same thing. Guys, we spar hard. And yeah, some guys become a little more fragile as they get older. Or guys who have cuts, you got to be careful. But there's a lot of padding. There's extra different headgear you can wear. The bar headgear, which is a
yeah. But
steel
should
bar.
he have been the one? What was the one he was wearing?
I don't know. I didn't see.
It looked like the traditional one where it just was a circle
open face.
there.
Yeah, probably an open face, because it's really difficult to get up in there.
And then also,
I know I saw a video. That's not the video from this, right? The guy lands a left hook on the inside, and then
yeah, it's the video.
That's the one?
Yeah.
All right, well, that didn't look like an elbow. That looked like a left hook.
I don't know what it was. Elbow, left hook, whatever. I
Yeah.
mean, it happened. Now we can get to the part where people can be even more skeptical. We get to how this fight now, Fury-Usyk, is now May 18th, and
Weird.
we're about 90 days. Is that enough time for this
No.
cut to heal?
No, the traditional doctor's orders is you heal 1% per day for facial cuts. So you're looking at 100 days, so just over 3 months of no contact. You need to, first couple days. I mean, the stitches don't stay in for very long, and you keep them in, you get it closed up, depending on how bad the cut is, and you do stitches on the inside and the outside, depending. That one looked meaty. It looked like it was into the meat of the eye, so there most likely was going to be stitches on the inside and the outside, which is going to close it and help the healing process. It's only a couple days that those stitches are in. They take those out, and then it just comes to just being careful, using salves, making sure that cut doesn't get infected, because bacterial infections is really what hinders the healing process.
Mhm.
But dude, you don't want to get cut. You don't want to get hit for a while.
So he's not going to do anything for 2 weeks, right? 3 weeks?
You're gonna be I mean, first week.
I'm talking about like in terms of sparring, like he can stay active.
No, he's not gonna spar for
Right.
months.
He's not going to spar for let's just say a month or two.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that skin is not going to be as tough or as durable, and the risk of re-injuring and reopening that cut very high. That's
what
why
he was saying. Because what
we
Fury
were
was
talking
saying
about
is
that.
like I can I'm in great shape, so I'm going to continue to stay in really good shape by exercising this, that, and the other.
Mhm,
I take a month or two, like 45 days off from any contact in terms of
mhm.
sparring, maybe even 2 months, and then that final I pick it right back up, say mid-April, and I'm fine. I mean, that's
Yep.
what Fury said. I also saw Eddie Hearn say that. I was expecting Eddie to shit all over this, and Hearn was like, "Oh yeah, May 18th doesn't. I think they can give it a go on May 18th." Like, I don't think that the Saudi officials would just throw out May 18th if they didn't feel like it could happen. Like, what's the point of saying that? Why not just say June freaking 8th or something? Like, why May 18th? Like that if they don't believe that they think that he can get in there and give it a go.
Yeah, and listen, he can fight next month. Realistically, that cut will be closed. It won't be healed, obviously, but it'll look okay, and he can step in the ring and fight. Like that. That's just the nature of this game, and fights of this magnitude. Yeah, I mean, get this fight in as early as you can, especially if he's in shape. I get it. I get it. I mean, he's been cutting fights before, right over that eye as well. The auto baleen was that same one. It was just much bigger.
Yep.
But that is a deep cut. It looks like it went into the meat of that
Oof.
muscle above the eye. So yeah, it's going to take some healing. But listen, we're warriors, dude, and this is a lot of money.
A lot of money.
If I'm going in there and I'm getting paid the kind of money these guys, it's a cut's not really going to stop me. I'm gonna get that thing stitched up. I'm gonna do my best to get to fight night as healthy as I can. But if
But I
I'm
mean,
not
like,
100 if I'm not 100% healed, oh well.
that's what I mean. Like, how many fights did you go into not 100%? But you
Every
guys only have a certain amount of years, athletes, to make that money, make that top dollar. So I'm sure for you, like you had to find something else in there until.
Man, I went into fights with broken hands, like literally broken bones in my hand or my wrist, just because I couldn't not fight, and also I didn't have insurance, so I needed the fight insurance
That's
to look at.
real fighting, right? This is not what you're gonna
Yeah.
hear. You're not gonna hear this from Tyson Fury, who's got
No.
millions of dollars. But
Yeah.
he has a lot of money, Fury, and he's made a fortune. We get that, but he was saying like, how can you pretend that I'm faking this? Like, this is the biggest fight of me career, and it's the biggest fight. It's the
No.
biggest money fight for me. So I do believe him there. I understand.
I do too.
Don't believe him. Usyk's manager, Ilgus, what is it?
Klimas.
Yeah.
Klimas, yeah.
He had one of the most insane lines, insane quotes that I've ever seen in boxing. And this is a sport that's produced some of the most insane quotes. He said he had his bitch hit him over the face with a frying pan.
Wait, that was real? I thought that was a meme.
That was a real quote.
Wow. Wow.
So Fury brings it up in the interview. He says, first of all, don't call me a coward, Aegis, ever again. I'm a blank, blank, blank. I've gotten up off canvas 10 times. I'm a this, that, and the other 3-time world champion and all that. And he goes, if you ever say another thing, call my wife a bitch again, I'm gonna take you out. And Aegis is like, I never said any. I wasn't talking about your bitch. I wasn't talking. It was amazing. And he's like, well, who did you mean then? And he didn't say. He's like, you said my bitch. So keep her out. Keep Paris Fury out of this. I've watched At Home with the Fury. She's a great mother to about 35 different Furies. But yeah, I don't understand the Usyk side of this.
Box is wild, man.
Right?
Ooh,
Crazy.
I literally thought that was a comedy meme. I didn't think that
That's
that was
what I
real.
know. I put it out on our Instagram. I was like, just put out these quote cards are crazy. And he didn't apologize either. He said, no, I stand by it. He's a coward. I was like, oh, jeez.
Ooh, wow.
Crazy, man. So some of the other big news from this interview was His Excellency's Turkey. We're gonna call him Turkey from here on out. I'm sure people are tired of hearing His Excellency. Turkey. Um in a attempt to make good on all this and assure us that Riyadh season is alive. Tells us June 1st. Beterbiev versus Bivol. Finally
Hell
getting into
yes.
the ring. We
Hell
have a
yes.
date. When it comes out of the mouth of Mr. Turkey, it means business. So he goes out. He goes ahead of Top Rank. He goes ahead of Matchroom and says June 1st, we're getting it. Finally, undisputed light heavyweight. We talked about this fight, at length. We talked about it after Beterbiev's last win. Are you still leaning? Are you still feeling like it's Beterbiev's now because he had the most recent spectacular win compared to Bivol's UD that he had on the day of reckoning?
So I always leaned Bivol, and I have for years, and I think I've talked about that on our air on past shows. It's definitely closing. I'm not sure. I'm picking Beterbiev. I'm actually not sure about picking either guy at this point. As we get closer to that fight,
We
it's
can
still
have a lean though. We can lean.
yeah. I would say I'm probably leaning towards Beterbiev now. I think that what he showed in that Callum Smith fight was very impressive, and he just seems like he's streaking. I had a lot of questions about his age and that jaw situation because he took so much time off. That was answered in the Callum Smith fight, so that makes me lean a little bit towards Beterbiev. But we're splitting hairs here. As we get closer to the fight, it's June 1st. We have a couple months, and I really start to break down these guys in the ring. I'll have a better understanding of where I'm going. But yeah, man, it is switched the dial for me. I have gone full 100% Bivol to hey man, I can see Beterbiev winning this fight.
Yeah, and not only that, like now we have a date. June 1st. It came right from Saudi.
Biggest fight I think can happen in the sport,
Yes.
honestly.
I and not in terms of like marketability because both
Right.
these guys are just like neither of them speak really good English and all that. But I think in terms of skill, in terms of sheer skill, in terms of
and danger.
Okay, yeah, in terms of skill, in terms of danger, in terms of all four belts being on the line, Beterbiev Bivol, I believe, is the best skill matchup you could make in the sport right now, hands down.
Yeah, and I think we've actually done this on past shows because we were like close to getting this like a year ago, and we were talking about how good this fight is and kind of how it was falling under the radar. I think finally now though, people are really opening their eyes to this, that this is a magnificent matchup and literally one for the ages. And so I'm happy that it's kind of happening the way it's happening. And honestly, both guys, I didn't see a decrement in their abilities. Bivol, he looked good against Arthur, but he had a guy who wasn't really engaging, and Bivol did what Bivol does. He's had a lot of fights like that. His timing looked good. His distance looked good. Everything he does well, he was able to use in that fight. And then Beterbiev, actually, I think he looked better than I've ever seen him. So I feel like we're getting these guys pretty close to their primes, even though they're older.
Yeah, despite them being in their 30s and Beterbiev pushing 40, Beterbiev is showing no signs of weakness. Bivol is Bivol. To throw in the fact
the testosterone level of a 22-year-old.
Well, that's another thing that's going to come into light too. What's the testing going to be like? He's a guy that has pulled out of a lot of fights, and there's fans out there. Not to be a conspiracy theorist here, there's fans out there that are always wondering why Beterbiev has all these fight postponements. But on top of that, it's the traditional fighter. It's the traditional boxer versus puncher. They've been champions in their weight class since 2017.
Kind of boxer puncher fight, but because I don't know, man, Beterbiev can box his ass off.
I know. I hate to just I just did something that a lot of people are guilty of, and that's just thinking that he's just this brute with power, Beterbiev. But he's known as a punch. When you think of him, you think of brutal power, but he's obviously a great boxer on top of it. It's just you got to form it. That's how boxing is. You got to find break it down to as simple terms as possible. The mover and boxer of Bivol versus the power of Beterbiev. June 1st. How about this for a month stretch, Chris? May 4th, we have Canelo versus TBD. May 6th, we have Inoue versus Neri in the Tokyo Dome. May 12th, over in Australia, we have Lomachenko versus Kambosos for the vacant IBF. May 18th, Fury versus Usyk. That is the new date for that. And then June 1st, Beterbiev versus Bivol, a 4 to 5 week span with huge fights, undisputed fights, big time implications. Yeah, we might not be getting these fights right now, boxing fans. I mean, we're going to have to wait a little bit, but that's going to be a one heck of a 4 or 5 month span.
Yeah, and we're gonna have a lot to cover right here in Inside Boxing Live. I mean, we're gonna be patiently waiting for the Canelo announcement. Hopefully it's not what we're hearing, but that's probably what it's gonna be. But still,
But
a lot of good
thinking
things coming
Charlo
up
still?
down the pipe.
You're thinking
That's
Charlo still for Canelo?
that's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm hearing. That's what I'm
Canelo,
hearing.
yeah, that's what I'm hearing as well. But Terrence Crawford was bored last night on Twitter, and he put out Terrence Crawford versus Canelo Alvarez is the biggest fight in boxing right now. These are not an opinion; these are facts.
I can't really argue with him about that because the crossover appeal of that fight is going to be massive. Is it the best fight? No. Is it better than Beterbiev Bivol? Absolutely not. But the crossover appeal and the marketability and the commercial aspect of that matchup, because of who they are, is huge.
By far. I mean, this is guys that are top 4 or 5 in the pound for pound. You got the Mexican fan base, you got Crawford's fans, American on the American side of things, the ticket sellers of Canelo and Crawford coming off of that huge win and everyone being interested to see how does he back up that Spence win. Are we looking at an all-time great? Then you throw in like, smaller opponent versus the bigger opponent in Canelo and can a smaller guy beat a bigger guy and all that in there. But I am seeing and hearing kind of the same things that are being thrown out there is that like Canelo's might fight Charlo in May, and then and not Benavidez in September. It might be Crawford in September. Does Crawford take a fight in between? Does Crawford take a fight until September? At that point, you've been out of the ring 15 months. I mean, this is a guy that's always out of the ring. So those are some of the big picture questions in boxing right now. I don't know if Crawford will take a fight in between then.
I don't think he will. I don't think he will. I think all the moving parts to make that happen are going to be really tough, and I don't think we want to risk any kind of situations like we're dealing with Fury and Usyk. He's going to have a very small window to get that fight. It's going to be September or bust. If that fight doesn't happen September, I don't see Crawford and Canelo ever fighting. So
Right.
I think he's going to do everything he can to make sure he gets there.
I think a future episode we're gonna do is the most obvious fights you can make at every weight class.
I like that.
We'll start at like 112 and we'll go up to heavyweight because right now in boxing, last year 2023 there was so many obvious fights that had to be made. Right, it was like Spence Crawford, obvious fight that had to be made, and it was Ryan Garcia versus Gervonta Davis, obvious fight that had to be made. Right now, there's just like a lot of uncertainty about like what's the fight that has to be made that isn't already scheduled. Beterbiev and Bivol are fighting. Fury and Usyk are fighting. Like Ryan Garcia has too many options. Devin Haney has too many options. Gervonta Davis has too many options. Terrence Crawford is going after Canelo. Charlo's out of the picture. Like there isn't. It's like a little murky right now. There's not that obvious fight that's out there that's not already scheduled.
Yeah, we should definitely do that, and we should have your picks versus my picks. What do we think, and decide which ones we think and why? Because like you said, because it is murky, there's room for discussion about which fight is the best one in the weight class. I like that idea.
We'll do it when there's not as much news because we have a midweek episode coming out for Tiafimo because he's fighting Jermaine Ortiz Thursday night over on ESPN. This past weekend, let's get into this. Conor Benn goes the distance with Pistol Pete Dobson for Benn. It's his second straight decision. This is after a long line of knockout wins. Chris, we know your history with Conor Benn, and everyone's tweeting me, what does Chris think? And I'm reading tweets. Chris Algieri, such a classy guy. He can say so much more, and he's not saying anything right now. But I'll ask you now. This is our podcast. What did you make of our guy, Conor Benn, and his performance against Pete Dobson?
Listen, silence is golden. I don't think I have to say anything that's not obvious. So where'd the power go? I mean, now but also he's fighting guys that are not undersized. He's not picking up 40 pounders, moving up to 147. He's fighting guys who are actually 47. But the issue here is, listen, he was off for a while. He came back. Didn't look particularly great when he fought, was that a Roscoe a couple months back? But again, last minute kind of fight. They just kind of snuck it under the radar because of all the allegations, everything's going on with the BBOC and UCAD. And then he gets this fight, and it looked like a handpicked guy. He's someone that that we know from New York. He's been out of the ring. They're fighting at 151, and not only did he not hurt Pete, he wasn't able to put him down. He wasn't able to deter him from coming forward. But beyond that, I think he's regressing. He showed a lot of defensive issues. He was getting hit with right hands pretty much. But I mean, Pistol Pete didn't throw many shots, but when he did, I mean, he had pretty high accuracy and he was landing some good, clean right
Yes.
hands. Ben was backing out straight with his hand down, which is, a mistake that he didn't always do. And it seems like he's regressing in terms of his technique, regardless of, what we're talking about in terms of all the allegations and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, these last two fights, it's almost like he's just fallen in love with his power. And he's like, every time I hit somebody, they're going to go to dust. And now when they don't, you're starting to see the lack in experience and the lack in the technical proficiency that yeah, I mean, if you always just work on your power and then it doesn't age you, you're going to be in trouble.
Yeah, exactly. I think the more you see of something and the more you see of a fighter, you start to see everything. You start to see their weaknesses more than their strengths. And for a while, we're only seeing his strengths. And obviously, the allegations are out there, and it's not resolved yet, and all that. We don't have to add too much to that because everyone has either made up their mind, or we don't know the truth, or we're ever going to get the truth, or ever going to get a settlement on this. He's fighting in Las Vegas, in the afternoon. They're skirting around ways for that, and they're also trying to get into that UK market. And that's my question. And next is like, is he still marketable? You got to believe he is, because Matchroom is still, aligned with him, and Eddie Hearn is still willing to put, his neck on the line, whatever you want to say about Eddie Hearn and boxing promoters. But you're seeing a lot of people call him out. You're seeing Devin Haney not exactly call him out, but mention him. You're seeing a lot of UK fighters mention him. Gervonta Davis, this is the latest. Gervonta Davis and Conor Benn going back and forth to the point where Davis is just firing off 5 or 6 tweets. He's showing us screenshots where Eddie Hearn is, dropping into the DMs and saying, do you really want this fight? And Gervonta's saying, yeah, I do. So that's what I'm trying to figure out here. Does it still make sense for these contenders? Does it still make sense for these champions to get into the ring with Ben? Is he still that marketable overseas to make these big fights?
It seems to me that Eddie is trying to put a square peg through a round hole with Ben, and he's trying to recoup whatever he's built up into the guy's career going forward. So obviously, they've been blowing through a ton of money to get this guy back out there, skirting a lot of the rules, stepping around things, hurting his image, which I think is what you were alluding to, and just the handling of a lot of the things how he's handled a lot of these things has really turned people off. I don't know how popular he is in the UK compared to here, but I mean, if you read comments, there's not a lot of positivity coming back on these comments. And on the back end of a performance like he did on Saturday night against Pistol Pete, who was an unheralded guy from New York, calling out those names doesn't really make sense. It looks like you're trying to cash out.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't make sense from a competitive standpoint.
No, but like those guys will take those fights because it's a sterling record of a guy that doesn't look that dangerous anymore. So
Right.
you can, that's why when Davis is or Tank is go out there and goes, yeah, I'll fight him. He obviously saw something. He goes, oh yeah, I'm gonna beat that guy. I don't need this fight. This isn't a fight I need, but yeah, I can beat that guy, and it'll be
Right.
a good name on my record.
There's a lot of people that would like to tune in to watch him get pasted. That's just like something that goes well beyond just Conor Benn. That's just like a formula that Mayweather used for years, and
But
there's
that's
that
part of
out there.
popularity as well. That's important for
So
love or hate, you're tuning in.
right, I don't see him like getting to that championship level. Like I don't see him getting better in there. Like I obviously see him regressing, like you just talked about. But he's getting the attention of some of these names. Like, will he fight Gervonta Davis? Probably not. I mean, Conor Benn rehydrated to 170 pounds
Yeah,
on
wow.
fight night. I mean, we're talking about Gervonta Davis, who has fought at 140 once, who put a rehydration clause on Ryan Garcia. Like, yeah, this is all fun and games now on Twitter in February to watch this all play out. But Ben, also they might be desperate enough, team Ben. They might be desperate enough to accept a hydration clause and go, make obviously Gervonta the A side and take all of his demands to step into the ring, because I feel like right now, even Eddie said it, is that everyone's calling us out right now because they see like a big money fight and an opponent that's there for the taking. So they might be willing to play ball, might be willing to put it on PBC and all that. So if you're interested in that, he's not going anywhere. The Conor Benn saga rolls on, but I would agree with you. I was not that impressed with him inside the ring.
Yeah, no, like I said, the defense, not setting things up, just loading up on power shots, especially early on, and then the gas tank. He didn't. He The Orozco fight was actually impressive because he came on late and was like really, really pushing. This fight wasn't like that. He was getting hit with shots. It seemed like he got stung a few times from Dobson. So yeah, I have to agree that on the back end of that performance, it's really difficult to start throwing out names like Terrence Crawford and Devin Haney and Davis.
The other fight this weekend, light heavyweight domestic dust up, as they like to say over there.
Good fight.
Buatsi versus Dan Azeez, good fight. Buatsi drops him twice, wins a decision in a nice, competitive, fun fight at 175. Buatsi, he's hot and cold. I think he's a contender. I think he's a damn good fighter at 175. There's some names for him. He can fight maybe Beterbiev Bivol winner, and he can fight Anthony Yard if he wants to stay on domestic route and kind of wait out Beterbiev and Bivol. But I really liked what I saw out of Buatsi.
Yeah, I did too. I've been a fan of him for a little bit. He was a guest commentator with me back in San Antonio when Bam Rodriguez fought Quadras, and I got to talk to him a little bit off air and on air. And we were talking about the business side and where he sees himself, and I was very impressed.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, he's got the amateur background, he's got the physicality, he's a good athlete, but he also, it seemed to me from what my conversation with him, he had the mindset too. And I just wrote an article that highlighted this fight, the Buatsi Azeez fight, because I was
You wrote an article.
Yeah, I write articles for Pro Box TV.
Well, look at you, bro. I know you're a professor. I know you grade papers. I know you write them too.
Yeah, it's called Chris Algieri's School of Thought.
Love that.
Yeah, it's good. It's good stuff. So I was talking about the light heavyweight division, obviously because of Beterbiev and Bivol. And then I highlighted this fight because I think there's a lot of implications for the winner here. I was leaning towards Buatsi, and he impressed because Azeez is a tough guy, man. He's a dangerous guy. Throws a lot of punches. He's got long arms. He's got good power. But I in the article I said, like, he's got an it factor too. He finds shots, and he's a dangerous guy. Sometimes you can't see some of the shots that he lands. But Buatsi was just too sharp, too clean, too strong. Took the punches too well. I mean, showed a great chin. So yeah, good fight. And I think he's one of those guys. He's going to be next in line for these big fights. If you told me that he was fighting Bivol, I would be like, I mean, obviously after Beterbiev or either one of them, I'd be like, yeah, absolutely. Like, yeah, line them up. That's a great fight.
Yeah, he's already talking about I'll fight Anthony Yard, and he makes a lot of money there, and that's a banger. And just don't wait and see what happens with Beterbiev and Bivol. Like, go out and keep your momentum going. And I would love Yard versus Buatsi, but that was a nice fight over in the UK. Ben Whitaker, I know you want to touch on Ben Whitaker. He's doing something that a lot of fighters I feel like need to do. He needs to do something where people get to talk about you. He's showboating in there. He's a former Olympian. I just saw the video. I didn't see his fight, but I just saw the highlight reel. I was like, oh my God, that's like Bugs Bunny stuff. Like, he was like throwing behind the back punches. This is a guy that won a silver medal. Like, maybe you see this in like the YouTuber stuff, but you know what? He's getting people to talk about him. Obviously, he has skills. Do you have an issue with the showboating? What do you think of Ben Whitaker?
Well, first of all, he's fantastic, and the things that he's able to do in the ring are really something else. I mean, the guy got on Sports Center. Like, people, he's obviously getting news. It's working.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, but they or at least it was on their Instagram page, I think.
Okay, yeah, that matters.
But yeah, no, it matters. And the issue, and I think I've read some comments, mostly from fighters, people who are in the sport. It's like, do you have to showboat so hard? You're fighting guys that are literally lined up to get knocked out.
Yeah, his opponent was 10-14.
Yeah, he had 13 losses. So at
Whatever,
that stage,
13,
it's different. If you're Terrence Crawford and you are dogging Spence while you're beating him up and knocking him out,
talking to Jamel Charlo in the crowd, you're making your plans for later.
That's A1 trash talk and showboating, and nobody's gonna knock that. But when you got a guy who's 10-14 who maybe took the fight on short notice, who's fighting for a paycheck, and you're sitting there dogging him out that way, it was, and from when I was watching the fight, even in the corner, his coaches were like, "Hey, end it this round." Okay. Like, it seemed like they were even like, "Dude, stop playing with your food and end it this round. Let's not get hit with something stupid. Let's not get cut." And he went out there and he knocked him out that round. It was very, very impressive.
Yeah, I mean, listen, bro, I've been saying this for years. You got to figure out a way to cut through the noise. Yeah, don't do it all the time. I mean, one time, like you said, don't be disrespectful.
You don't want to be that guy.
Yes, don't be that guy. Don't be that guy. You're right. But if you can find a way onto Instagram, ESPN or SportsCenter or just Twitter, and now Ben Whitaker. I saw his name all over the timeline yesterday. I mean, it helps. Obviously, he's got the skills, and they will progress him. One last story. End on a high note. I was in Orlando this weekend calling fights for most valuable prospects. Jake Paul's promotion. It's not YouTuber fights. These are legitimate prospects coming up the ranks. H2O Silv. Ashton Silva was the main event. He picked up a nice win over Esteban Falcao. But in the co-main event, Chris, there's this guy, Julian Quiet Storm Smith. And he's called the Quiet Storm because he's deaf. He is legally deaf. He had hearing until about age 5. He got meningitis as a kid, lost his hearing. And he's from Chicago. Had a nice amateur career, but nothing crazy. Won a few Golden Gloves here and there, and kind of like taught himself how to box. Linked up with a few PAL coaches, this, that, and the other. Turns pro and has some success. He fought on one of our cards. He got a win. He went viral because his sign language guy was telling him the decision in the ring. I took the video and it went viral. Awesome. Yeah, it was great, and he was ecstatic, and he got invited to fights with Jake Paul and all that. And he's now become a leader of the deaf community and disability community too. So he loses a tough fight in our last event, and we bring him back and we put him in there. MVP puts him in there against a guy named Orestes Velasquez, who is trained by Ismael Salas, who has 300 plus Cuban amateur fights, is ranked 9th by the WBA, 8-0 with 7 knockouts. I personally thought that heading into this fight, Julian Smith was going to get probably stopped. I was like, all right,
he was a big underdog, right?
Huge underdog, bro. Like, Velasquez was a minus 2,500 favorite. Like, we might not see a bigger upset this year in terms of odds.
Wow.
So the fight starts, and Quiet Storm told us in the fighter meeting. I said, dude, how are you gonna go after this guy? He's a power puncher. Are you gonna fight fire with fire? And Smith goes, I'm gonna fight fire with lava. He does it in sign language to me. I'm like, oh my God, this guy's gonna take it to the power puncher. I guess that's what you got to do against power punchers. So I'm like, all right, let's see if he's actually gonna do this. First round, drops him. Julian Smith drops Velasquez, and we're sitting ringside, me, Nonito Donaire, and Wade Plem, and we're like, oh my God, is it a flash knockdown? And is it a real knockdown? No, he was like legit hurt. Second round staggers him with some right hands. The guy could not get out of the way of a right hand. Middle rounds get a little hairy because Velasquez started holding. He started to take away that right hand. Some veteran tactics, started landing some punches of his own. I'm like, all right, they're probably going to give this guy a decision. It's an 8-round fight. He's the A side, Velasquez. But then Smith, there was like an accidental headbutt, and Velasquez is dazed, and Smith pounces, stops him in the 9th. Guy quits on his stool. His mom comes into the ring. She's crying. They're lifting him up on his shoulders. He's crying. I look over at Nonito. I'm crying. He's like, we have tears in our eyes because it's like a real life Rocky story. And I really wanted to highlight that. Julian Quiet Storm Smith, there's a lot of bad stories in boxing, a lot of negative stuff. This was like one of the cooler things that I got to see. And I was like, damn, I got to call that fight. And it had crazy moments. There were 10-7 rounds, 10-8 rounds. There was headbutts. There was holding. It was a wild one. But shout out to Julian Quiet Storm Smith. You're my hero.
Man, I love it. And I was just looking, I got to watch that fight. I got to go back and watch it. I didn't get a chance to, but
it's awesome.
Yeah. His opponent, man, I've seen him. Orestes Velasquez is a badass, dude. He's a 30-year-old Cuban. He's a puncher. He beat Mohamed Sumaro, who we've had on our air on Pro Box TV. He was a very tough guy. He beat Marcelo Nicolas Lopez, who's
he beat Salgado, and who was the world champion in his second or third fight. I know Salgado was probably past it at that point, but still,
there's so much belief in this guy, man. That's super impressive. Not only was he a big underdog, but he actually beat like a really good guy. And,
and like
that's awesome.
And he's got so many things were stacked against him. Like obviously not just like being deaf, but like he didn't have good training coming up. He's just like a Chicago PAL amateur with Golden Gloves. Like the cards were stacked against him.
He's 7-2 fighting a guy who's 8-0. Like he's got 7 KOs.
Everything was stacked against this guy. Out of the ring, now even inside the ring. Orestes Velasquez is trained by Ismael Salas, who's like one of the best trainers. Yep. It just was awesome. It was awesome to see an upset. It was awesome to see that. So shout out Quiet Storm. You're the man. And
also that's one of the best nicknames around because obviously that's such a good nickname.
The Quiet Storm. Like he came in like the Undertaker too. A lot of questions because people are like, how does he hear the bell? Like he can hear vibrations and stuff. The referee has to like really be on top of things because sometimes Julian he won't hear the vibrations. He won't hear the bell, and he'll continue to fight after the bell is rung, and the opponents don't understand. But now that this is the third time he's fought on MVP, so they kind of understand.
Bring him
But
back. Bring him back.
He's definitely he's got the WBA regional belt. He had it at the after party. He was just a humble dude. Like he was FaceTiming everyone. Like it was pretty freaking cool to see up close.
Great story. Great story.
We end there. We end with a nice positive note. What's our line? Protect yourselves at all times. Keep your hands up at all times. Stay out of those DMs unless you got some tips on us because we're heading to Vegas.